These are the units that I'm using. Ubiquiti Nanobeam AC GEN2, 5 gigahertz. It's pretty self-explanatory. They give you a good demo on the steps involved, telling you how to download the app that I was explaining. Comes with a little bracket that you screw onto the wall that you could mount your unit. It's pretty nice. Anyway, that's the units. Hello everyone. Yeah, this is about the using Ubiquiti units to send the Starlink signal wirelessly from a structure to your house located at a distance. So install your dish and mount your Ubiquiti units. I put one here, and that's my station. That's important to remember this. The first unit is your station, and then over there on the wall of my house, that's the remote. You'll name that, well, you'll see that as, well, you'll name it as the remote unit, the one that's on your receiving structure. My setup. This is a Starlink router. I'm not using it. You could. No, there's no reason why you can't, but I just like using my own routers. Anyway, so if you're using your router, the Starlink, you'll plug the main cable that comes from the Starlink dish into that port at the bottom, the top port. You'll plug the cable that comes from, I don't know if you can see that, but that little white box there that comes with the Ubiquiti units, that's a PoE injector, power over Ethernet injector. You'll plug that cable, one side of it, the white one, into the top port of the Starlink router. And then with the second cable that you supply, you'll need it, you'll run that second cable out into the back of your first Ubiquiti. If you're using your own router, like I am, you'll run the main signal feed from that's the power brick there that I'm using from Starlink, that black box. That white cable that comes out of the Starlink, it's running into the back of the WAN, WAN port of my first router. You'll need two routers, by the way, because you'll need one set up in the house. So this main router, or this main router, whichever one you're using, is literally that. It's a router in router mode. That's important. Your second router that you set up in this configuration is going to be set up as an access point, not a router. So you have to log in that second router, and in there, in the settings, you'll see that button that you can click on to either have that router as in router mode or as in access point. It comes out, runs into the those units I have are the Ubiquiti AC5 GEN2 Nanobeams. They can run as high as 655 megabits per second link. I think they default at the 20 megahertz channel, I believe, and that channel is I think it's in the 200s or 300s, I can't remember, but by default these units will only be in that bandwidth mode. You'll have to initially set these up in the 80 megahertz channel to get 650 megabits per second air link. And also what that means is it's not that you'll actually receive 650 megabits per second in your house. What that means is that channel is split. So each channel sending and receiving will receive 300 and something megabits per second. So if Starlink ever goes faster than 300, well, say if it went to 400 megabits down, which it doesn't for us anyway up here in Canada or in my area, The fastest I get is 150 megs down, maybe. Sometimes I'll go up to 200, but it's very rare. So, I mean, I'm covered. Should it ever go fast, like say a gigabit speed, then yeah, you're going to be capped with using these units. So my recommendation is they sell the newer units, which are the Gigabeams, they call them. Ubiquiti AC5 Gigabeams, I think, or something. I would buy those ones just in case that ever does happen and you want, you know, to ensure like you'll get the fastest speeds possible. Unit, you'll plug the cable that comes from the outside second unit. That's the gray one on that one. I can't see where I am here. Anyways, plugs into that, and then that blue Ethernet line that you see there coming out of it, it's running out into the back of my second router. It just runs into any port on the router, not the blue. You don't use the blue, the blue WAN port on your second router at all. That's well, just remember that, don't use that WAN port. So again, I have my own router, which you're going to need. You're going to have to buy one, or if you have one, hopefully it's a decent one. I have the TP-Link routers. Anyhow, so this router is set up, like I told you earlier, in access point mode, not router mode. Okay, so this is to set up Gigabeam Nanobeams. Okay, before you start, you should go to Google Maps. Open up Google Maps, zoom into your house, farm, whatever it is, location. Once you're there, find and tap on the exact location where your first unit's going to be, your station. So tap on that corner of the building. Then you'll notice the coordinates down below at the bottom of the screen. Click on them, and then on the left it'll populate, and you'll have latitude and longitude. So write those values down. Don't forget the negative sign in the longitude. And then after you do that, go to the house, or whatever you're in, apartment, house. Click on the exact corner location where the remote unit's going to be. And same thing, click on the coordinates and write down those latitude and longitude values. And okay, after you're done that, now we're going to start with the setup of the first unit. So in your system right now, have everything pretty much powered off, especially like the Ubiquiti units. I guess that's the most important part. You could have, you know, your house system, router, etc. turned on. Just don't have power yet to the two Ubiquitis. So Starlink is powered up. Your first router, which is obviously probably your Starlink router, is turned on and powered up, established a connection. Then now we're going to plug in the first unit, the Ubiquiti. So do that, and then wait a few minutes. Then we're going to open up the US IP app here, this app that we downloaded from the Play Store, UISP. That's what you're going to search for if you didn't already do that. You could do that previous to even owning these Ubiquitis, so do go and get that. So once you initially fire this up, I totally can't remember how this first screen will look on yours. If it comes to this screen, great. Then you'll obviously see your first unit. As you note in mine, I have them named. I have my name, Farm Nanobeam and Remote Nanobeam. Yours is going to be a generic name anyways. You will click on it to connect to it. And once we're in there, Not sure if your first screen will look like this. It might look like a setup screen, but if it looks like this and there's nothing in there, then click on the 3 buttons at the top right, click configuration. Now under wireless tab, for your first unit, you want it not to be in access point mode, which it is there. It's not in access point mode. It's in PTP mode, and I believe that's, I don't know how it looks actually when you first set these up. For your SSID, this is important to type it in and note this with pen or paper, pen or pencil, the name that you've given it. So for mine, my main unit on the barn is called Rockin's Airstream. You can name yours whatever, just I would change the name obviously to something that you'll remember. So a good example would be whatever building you got it on. Say if it's on a barn, then maybe name it barn unit or barn Ubiquiti, something. And for the password, obviously make sure you write that down. Even if you put capitals or whatever, just always know to remember it. And output power is default, I think, to auto. In advanced, the only thing in there you change is your country code to Canada if you're in Canada. Then you're going to say done. And then network, you want it to be in bridge mode. Your management IP, write that down. Oh, don't forget to write everything down that I'm telling you. That's important, right? And correctly. But anyway, management IP, you want it to be whatever is in there. Mine, I have it set statically. If you don't understand that, that doesn't matter. Just write down that IP address, because that'll be the IP that you'll log into in the future to that unit. Your DNSs, not sure what they default to, if they're even populated yet. It might be 000, I don't know. But anyway, a lot of people like myself, we all use the Google DNS numbers. So if you don't mind, you can put these in, 8.8.8.8, and your secondary 8.8.8.0. And then we'll move to system. So the system host name, you can name that something friendly. Not sure what it defaulted to, but you can name it again Barn Nanobeam or Barn Airlink, whatever. Just remember to name it something so you'll recognize where it is. And then these username and password, these are important. So this is to log in and to connect to this unit later with the other one. So just, you know, remember something useful, username, whatever, and password, whatever, write them down. So, and then at the bottom, your location, latitude and longitude, that's where we went earlier, that I had you write down the exact coordinates from Google Maps. So make sure you pick the right one, the one that's on the barn or the outbuilding, and fill in them values. Just click on it and you'll see how to fill them in there. And now we'll hit the back arrow and it'll populate some of this information. Obviously you won't get your throughput, I believe, yet, because we don't have that other unit set up yet. So now we'll come right out of here, go back arrow. Now what you'll do is you'll go and plug in your second unit at the house and wait a few minutes till it boots up. And then it might autofill here, like populate. If not, just hit tools. I believe, is it in tools? No. Yeah. Just come back to devices, I guess. Or it might say can't find a device. I don't know. Just go in there, come back out of there. You saw a little wheel spin there just a second ago. It'll fill it in. Anyhow, once you see your second unit, do the same thing. Click on it, let it connect. And again, it might be at configuration. If not, then hit the 3 hamburger menu there, hit configuration. Now in this one, at the house, you want it to be in access point mode, so that's important. Make sure that's enabled, UTP mode enabled. Now the SSID, that was what I just previously had you set and wrote down, so just type that in there exactly as you copied it, and your password that you created there initially for that. Once that's done, channel width, you want to drop that menu down. I don't know, it might default to 20 or 40, I can't remember, but you want to try for 80. That'll get your fastest data link, so hit 80. Frequency, again, I don't recall what it defaults to in there, but I don't know, try what I have, 5555 megahertz DFS. Output power auto, country code Canada or US or wherever you are. Now we go to network, set that up, make sure it's in bridge mode. Management IP, now copy that down, now write that down, because that's your remote unit now, your house unit, whatever you've named it. And DNS, change those. Once you do that, click on system, and again on your host name, now name that one house Nanobeam, I guess, or something. And username, same thing as what you created on your initial one, and password, just to keep it simple. And then latitude and longitude, fill in those values to what you've pulled off Google Maps for your house. And if there's a save button or reply, then hit that. Okay, so now if you wait a few minutes, you should see the link develop and start populating some information in there. So with that said, once that's successful, you're going to want to aim them now precisely. So in here, if you hit that little 3 hamburger menu at the top right, you're going to see an antenna alignment tool. So, and remember, we're in our remote unit, right, or the house unit. Like, you can come right out of here, so whatever one you want to start with, your house or your barn, just, okay, well, we'll start with the barn one. And then we'll hit that hamburger menu, antenna alignment, and now we could start aiming. So in the white letters where it says -40 decibel meters best, that's what we're trying to shoot for in that top green slider, top number. Depending on, sometimes you might get lucky. you might have auto aimed it yourself previously, thinking you did all right, and well, if you come in here and it's damn good, well, I'm gonna leave it alone, I guess. But otherwise, you'll have to move it. So in order to make this easy, you could actually have your phone kind of clunky hanging onto your phone at the same time. So if you tap that little blue speaker bar, or little, looks like a speaker, so you'll get an audible tone as you're doing it. So you lay it down and start with the Ubiquiti. Take that off. Anyhow, you'll try to fine tune that as best you can. Then you'll log out of it. You'll walk over to the house. You'll hit your remote unit or your house unit. Do the same thing. Come in your hamburger menu, antenna alignment, hit the speaker, phone down, and spin around again. Do that until you can keep the best link. Once that's done, taking them down, and you're good to go. There's other things in here you could do. You might have to do a firmware update at some point. I'm sure it'll happen as soon as you get them connected to the internet. So I think we're done with this for now. So we'll stop.
Okay, now on to the last step, and hopefully the final steps to get this network running. Just before we get off here, I was just going to point out that currently I went and searched around Canada, and I found a couple sites that have these Nanobeams in stock. The cheapest I found was at this Deploy Depot out of Montreal. So if you Google Deploy Depot Canada, and search for Ubiquiti Nanobeam AC GEN2 NBE-5AC. You'll see these come up. He has 5 in stock. They're at a good price, $128.99. If you search for the same thing at Amazon Canada right now, you'll notice the price here is $196.17 plus import fees. So obviously you'd not want to go there. Now for the Gigabeams, the cheapest I found in Canada are $177.99 at PC Canada. These are places that have them in stock, like they have 63 available. So again, pc-canada.com if you want the Gigabeams. Now the cheapest place obviously is buying right from Ubiquiti's Canada store, not the US. Make sure you drop that menu down and select Canada and search in there for their wireless products and Gigabeam, and there you are, 159 Canadian. Now they're sold out, but I've noticed this before, they get stock quite frequently, so sometimes within days or a week you'll see it back in stock, so just have an eye for that if you're not in a rush. To get the Nanobeams to show up, sometimes you have to really search in here somehow, because they just don't default to show up. So if you're already in the the Gigabeam, they might show up in here. Otherwise, you could just manually search. Just put Nanobeam and enter, and it'll come up here. And there you go. They're 119 a piece versus 159 a piece. So it's your choice. And again, they're sold out, but they'll be back in stock. I saw this a lot where they sell out and come back. So they are the cheapest price, and they're right from Ubiquiti, so that ain't bad. And I believe it's free shipping from here too. Anyhow, enough of that. So now, where we were in the setup was we have our 2 bridges or Nanobeams, connected, working, plugged in. So the cable that ran out of that second Nanobeam, we haven't plugged it into the back of our router yet, our new router or whatever you have. So with that said, just fire up that router, the second one. If it's a new router, I don't know what you got, but if it's new. And again, if it's this router, well, great, TP-Link AC1750. Here, I'll actually bring that up. If you're looking for a router, they're not bad. AC1750 TP-Link. Let's see here. Amazon. So there you go. That's the router I have. TP-Link AC1750 dual band wireless AC gigabit. Not a bad price. They have the newer Wi-Fi 6 ones out now, if you are familiar with anything about that. They have a faster Wi-Fi band, $179. It's going to be similar in setting it up, so your choice. Anyhow, let's just say you have the TP-Link router. So here we are. So we fired it up. It's running. Without plugging a wire into it, you could probably set it up through the Wi-Fi. So disconnect yourself from any Wi-Fi that you currently are on. Bring up your Wi-Fi box here. The name's going to come up here. It's going to default to some crazy name like TP-Link something, I don't know, whatever. It'll be in the manual that you get out of the box. Anyway, it'll tell you to look for this Wi-Fi that's it defaults to. Anyway, click on it and connect. So it'll log you in. From here, I don't know what screen it's going to show up with first. However, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come to operation mode. I don't know what it's going to say in any other router. Something along them lines. What you want to look for though is anything that says access point mode or AP mode, because we don't want it in router mode. So we want AP mode, access point, save. Then you're going to want to ensure in your network settings that your DHCP server is off. Leaving it in auto is fine, I believe. I had it in auto and it didn't interfere with my network, but just to be sure, we don't want that server to be on. So off, save. Then in your wireless, you're going to want to go in there and set up your wireless channels, your 2.4 gigahertz and your 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi bands in your house that are blasting out. You want to name them, so I'll go in there and set a name for your Wi-Fi. You're on your 2.4 gigahertz, name it whatever, something friendly, and put a password on it and save. It might reboot, and then you're going to wait a while because it'll take a while to reboot, and then you're going to come back into your drop down box on your wireless devices down here, and you're going to search for that new name that you just created for your one band. You're going to connect to it, put in your password, then you're going to log back in the router. It's going to come up, then you're going to come back in your wireless and you're going to set the 5 gigahertz band. Actually, you could have did it both in one foul swoop. Sorry, you didn't have to reboot and come back out, and then you could go in your wireless, set up both your channels, your 2.4 and your 5 gigahertz channels, to whatever you call them. Let's just say house 2.4, or yeah, house 2.4 gig or 2.4, and then house 5. So those, I don't know if you're aware of what that means, but the 2.4 gigahertz channel, it's a generic channel, I say, because it's not as fast as the 5 gigahertz channel, although the 2.4 channel will travel farther outside your house. So in general, I use my 2.4 gigahertz channel for just silly things like my Google speakers, smart plugs, some tablets, anything that, you know, really doesn't need all the bandwidth basically. And then for my 5 gigahertz devices, I use for my PC because I connect wireless to it, and sometimes like my smart TVs, I'll put them on that one. So anyhow, reboot, and yeah, so you should be able to come back in here, see your new channels created, connect, and you should be on the internet. So I hope that works. If not, drop me a link, messages in the channel there to help you out. Okay, thanks a lot.